Now, when Terry McMahon embarked on producing his film CHARLIE CASANOVA, he had nothing but his Facebook page on which he appealed for help. Within minutes, 130 people had pledged to help him, and now his film is about to debut at the Texas Film Festival, and Terry joins us in the studio. Good afternoon, Terry.
How are you, Sean?
Congratulations on the film. We do have a clip of it to play out, so we'll play out that little clip now.
What does a man have to do to solicit any sympathy shank around here?
Life is short, and I want to play a game. Bigger than poker.
My name is Charlie Barnum, and if there is a God, this may very well be my last will and testament.
Think of the innumerable things you privately yearn to do. But law, morality, conservatism, wives, children, parents, even strangers tell you every day that you cannot do those things. What happens if we're given the complete right to abdicate all responsibility? What happens if you tempt fate to find out if this is what you should really be doing with your life, if this is who you should really be? Now that's power. You pose a question to yourself, a question that you are afraid to even consider. Something that pushes you out of your comfort zone, something that at least changes your day, or better still, your life. You have to pose a question in such a way that you can only get a yes or no answer. Just one question. Are we men? Are we? Here's the 5 yes, 6 and 10 no.
Is something new?
Any card. It can be anything you want, but you have to be brave, you have to push it, and you have to abide by the answer of the card. 6 to 10.
You hear me? You hear me? You don't know what I'm capable of! You don't know me! You don't know me! You don't know me! You hear me? You don't know me! You don't know me!
Charlie Casanova there. He sounds a bit upset towards the end of that clip. You've worked for some time, Terry, in the film business before, but people I know who also work in the film business, sometimes it can be very frustrating because you can be in development hell, meaning you're getting dribs and drabs of money to write things that never see the screen. Have you had similar experiences to that?
It happens all the time. I've been commissioned to write about 13 screenplays for various directors of various talents. And you write the script, they make changes, you make those changes, they're thrilled with the script, and then nothing happens, and it keeps on. That seems to be the cycle over and over again. We spend a lot of money on development, and we have this committee approach to destroying things before they begin. So in this instance, it was a case of let's turn that around, take the independence back and make something to make it, as opposed to going to the abstract of thinking about it or talking about it or dreaming about it. And
when you put it on Facebook, did you have any sources of funding, or had you cast anyone for it?
No, I was broke, and I got a tattoo put on my body. It just says the art is in the completion begin. I know it probably sounds pretentious to some people, but I needed some constant reminder of why I got involved in this in the first place, and to find out what I was going to do to get something done. And I put the status up on Facebook. It said, intend making no budget feature CHARLIE CASANOVA. Need cast, crew, equipment, and a lot of balls. Any takers? And I felt like an idiot putting it up. I felt like a total fool. I felt I had just exposed myself, and I was going to be held up to ridicule. But I knew I had to do something that would have a seismic shift. And within 3 seconds, somebody did get back, and within 24 hours, 130 people got back. And literally a mass blind date was set for 3 weeks later. I had already set the first day of principal photography, even though I had no equipment, no cast, no crew, no nothing. And some of the cast I know already. Some of them are great friends of mine who I've worked with. I had an original cast that just weren't ready. So I used a lot of people who are not that experienced, but who had real tenacity, real balls behind what they were doing. And I just pushed them, and every time I thought, or they thought they couldn't go any further, we pushed them again. And in the end, you've a central performance, without sounding grandiose, you've a central performance from Emma Scanlon that's iconic, literally iconic. He's the voice you hear screaming there in the background, you don't know me, you don't know me. So, as it stands, we have a feature film made for less than €1,000 effectively. But that's slightly unrealistic as well, because we had huge support from Windmill Lane in post-production. And everybody right across the board just kept on coming out of nowhere, unsolicited on occasion. Massively experienced people will come on board and say, we really like what you're doing, we want to be part of it.
And say, in terms of Windmill Lane, do you have an arrangement with them that if the film makes money, you'll chuck them a few bob, or did they just say, here, take it for nothing?
They weren't even that mercenary. And it's interesting because they should be the capitalist private body, and yet they were by far the most supportive organisation in the country. The fellow called Nicky Moss, who did the sound design, a magnificent man, he did so much work on the sound of the film. And he brought it into Wimbledon to have it mixed. And the people in Wimbledon, the management, saw the film, and the staff in Wimbledon saw it, and it became one of those small little accidental zeitgeist things that seems to affect people. And people just wanted to be part of it. And across the board, they were working double shifts. They'd work their own day's work, and then they would come and do Charlie for nothing. So...
you did put the script up for people to read, so it wasn't just people out of the blue deciding to help you. They were basing it on a project.
Well, it was a prerequisite that they had to read the script first, because the script is, to phrase it euphemistically, it's a complex script. So people had to be aware that there were moral issues or provocations in the script that they couldn't pretend they didn't know about. But absolutely nobody seemed to have a problem with the script, and everybody jumped on board.
That's quite remarkable. It must be very edifying as well, given what you described to us previously, that the constant frustrations of things never happening.
Well, it's funny because when you write a script, especially with screenwriting, nobody gives a damn, and they're kind of right, because it's only a template and it's only the blueprint. But to know that you took it from inception to completion and that you dragged it up the mountain, and that when you got to the top, there was a film there that still retained its essence and all the things that you wanted to be about. Because you didn't just want to make a film to make a film. You wanted to make a provocative, visceral film that was about something. And to suddenly have it embraced in America on such a grand scale. South by Southwest in Austin, Texas is one of the biggest festivals in the world. And to give you an indication of its caliber, Jodie Foster's new film, The Beaver, with Mel Gibson, is also having its world premiere there. So we're going shoulder to shoulder with these massive multi-million-dollar films. And our small, tiny film was selected for competition. It's the first non-American film to be selected for competition in 6 years, and the first Irish film ever selected for competition. They know nothing about its background or its genesis or how it came about on any level. They just embraced it as a legitimate film. And as it stands right now, they are so protective of it. That's the most edifying of all.
Yeah, and it is, because I did ask during the break, is this a full-length film? And that which makes it all the more remarkable that you've done that. So you have the film. It's going to be shown at, or receive its world premiere there. Presumably you don't have a distribution deal or any of that free lucre stuff.
We were offered a deal in New York, and we were offered the deal before South by Southwest, which is great. But it's a kind of a mid-level deal where it's video of the day or DVD or whatever. The company who offered it are a great, highly reputable company, so it's fantastic to get that recognition in advance. In Ireland, I've received about 160 emails from various reporters, various distributors, various financiers and producers from around the world. I haven't received a single inquiry from Ireland, not one. So in terms of distribution, unfortunately, standard Irish response. Anything that is independent or anything that is a voice that has not been tamed by the system is ignored.
And I think you could tell even from that film that it's not your bog standard Irish film by a long stretch. It sounds quite literary as well.
The language is muscular, yes. But these characters that we're exploring, I've listened, I've snuck in and overheard their conversations on so many occasions. There's a certain kind of prejudice that we expect in Ireland, and we usually expect it to come with a working class accent dressed in a tracksuit. We don't understand that there's an infinitely more dangerous prejudice that can come in the form of suited and booted and highly articulate, and that's why it's so muscular.
Because you wanted to challenge preconceptions people have about middle class, well educated, Dublin types, or
well, just in terms of someone like Charlie Casanova, when we walk down the street and we see five guys in the tracksuits, we are conditioned to immediately feel inhibited or feel that something dodgy is going to happen. When we walk down the street and we see five guys in suits, we presume there's no problem.
Yeah.
But there's the guys who robbed us blind on every level. So Charlie is indicative of those kind of people who feel justified on every level. Everything they do, they can do without culpability, without having to take responsibility. And Charlie is a sociopathic member of the ruling class who knocks down a working class girl in a hit and run accident. And instead of doing something about it, he uses a deck of playing cards to determine his fate. And the more he uses the playing cards, the more he can negate all responsibility and become this egomaniacal whack job.
And the actors in it, are they relatively new to the screen? Was it their first time ever?
No, it's Emmett Scanlon, who plays Charlie Casanova so astonishingly well. He's done a small bit. None of them will be breakthrough on any huge level. Lee Arnold is in it. She was in the clinic. People would know her from that. But everybody who did come with certain baggage, the last thing I wanted was to be associated with their baggage. So I came with Fair City baggage, and it's the last thing I wanted. Emma Scanlon comes with Hollyoaks baggage, and it's the last thing you want. And Lee Arnold comes with the clinic baggage. What you want to do is you want to explode that as quickly as possible, so that anybody who has preconceptions, they're immediately gone, and suddenly they're watching a very substantial, very complex film.
Indeed. Well, in that clip, you could hear the echoes of Fair City there. Very good. So it debuts in Texas when?
On the 13th of March in a beautiful, beautiful historical theatre, a 300-seat single-screen theatre called The Strand. And it's such a beautiful thing to have, to know that we're going to have this major debut in a major festival.
Are you going to be over for it?
Absolutely.
All right, I'm glad you couldn't afford to make the film.
No, but the funny thing is that we had to borrow the money to buy. There's a few of the actors coming over. One of them is a taxi driver, and he's working 16-hour days to pay for the flight. I had to borrow the money to pay for the flight and pay for the accommodation. So on one level, there is the apparent indication of success, but on another level, we are still absolutely out on our own and alone and with no backup whatsoever. That's not a whine, by the way, it's just the actuality. The
actuality. But Terry, I do hope you get a massive distribution deal and it gets all the recognition it deserves. A fabulous achievement, even thus far. I've no doubt it'll go further.
Thanks so much.
The film is called Charlie Casanova. That was Terry McMahon there.